He was a man everyone recognized the moment he walked into a room, powerful, untouchable, and wrapped in the aura of wealth that only an Arab billionaire could carry. That evening, however, his face was not lit with confidence, but darkened with fury. He had arrived at the restaurant with high expectations, yet something had clearly gone wrong. His chair scraped the floor, his eyes blazed, and with a sharp gesture, he signaled his guards. It was obvious to everyone watching. He was leaving, and he wasn't coming back. The silence that followed his movements carried a weight heavy enough to make even the staff hold their breath. The waiters whispered behind their trays, unsure whether to approach or to stay hidden. Guests shifted uncomfortably in their seats, curious but cautious. In moments like this, no one dared to interfere with a man of his stature. His reputation for walking away without a second glance was well known, and the staff had already accepted that tonight would be one of those stories they would tell for years. But then, something entirely unexpected happened. From across the room, a woman stood up. She was neither dressed in luxury nor surrounded by guards. There was nothing about her presence that demanded attention till she spoke. The room froze, not because of what she said, but how she said it. Her voice rang out in perfect, fluent Arabic, carrying the kind of confidence that could slice through the billionaire's storm of anger. The billionaire stopped mid-step. His hand, which had been raised to push the door open, lowered slowly. His guards exchanged quick, uneasy glances. The atmosphere shifted in an instant, curiosity replacing fear. Everyone leaned in closer, waiting to see what would happen next. No one had ever seen him hesitate before. But tonight, in the middle of his fury, her words made him freeze. And in that silence, a story began that no one could have predicted. The woman's voice echoed in the billionaire's mind, calm yet commanding, as though it carried a weight far beyond her simple appearance. Those who watched could hardly believe someone had dared to stop him. Not with power, not with wealth, but with words. He turned slowly, his sharp eyes locking onto hers. For a moment, the restaurant felt suspended in time. No one dared to move, waiting to see what this stranger could possibly mean to him. She stood firm, though her heart raced beneath her quiet exterior. Few people knew she had spent years mastering the language, drawn to the beauty of Arabic and the culture behind it. Tonight, that hidden skill had found its moment. To the guests, she was only a customer like any other. To the staff, she was just another face they had served before. But to him, she suddenly became someone impossible to ignore. Whispers spread like fire through the room. Who was she? Why did her words matter so much? The billionaire's expression softened just slightly, but his silence carried an even stronger tension. It wasn't often that someone surprised him, let alone enough to make him stop in his tracks. His guards shifted uneasily, unsure whether to pull him away or wait for his command. The woman continued to speak, words measured and respectful, yet bold enough to stand in contrast to his anger. She wasn't trying to embarrass him, nor was she trying to gain his attention for herself. Still, the sincerity in her tone cut through the weight of the moment, forcing him to listen. Around them, the atmosphere grew heavier. Every pair of eyes was fixed on their exchange, as though the entire room had become an audience to a story none of them had expected to witness. The billionaire's decision now hung in the air, whether to dismiss her like everyone else or to uncover why her voice had stopped him cold. His gaze lingered on her longer than anyone in the room had ever seen. For a man known to make decisions in seconds, the hesitation itself was unusual. The woman's words seemed to carry more than just language. They hinted at knowledge, perhaps even familiarity that no one could place. Some guests leaned forward, convinced she must know him personally. Others whispered theories, imagining hidden connections between the billionaire and this mysterious woman. But the truth remained locked behind her calm eyes. The billionaire finally stepped closer. his footsteps heavy against the polished floor. His guards followed, tense and uncertain, their eyes darting around the room as if danger lurked in every corner. Yet the real battle was silent, unfolding between him and the woman who had dared to stop him. He asked no questions, not yet. His silence was sharper than words, testing her, measuring whether her voice carried strength or only courage in the moment. She met his gaze without faltering, though her mind was racing. She had not planned this encounter, nor expected to draw his attention. But deep inside, she knew she couldn't stay silent while he walked away. Her reasons ran deeper than curiosity, rooted in something the others couldn't see, something personal. Meanwhile, the staff huddled at the edges of the room, caught between fear and fascination. For them, this was more than a scene. It was a clash between two worlds. The billionaire represented power, money, and untouchable influence. The woman represented something quieter, yet equally disarming: truth, respect, and the courage to speak when others wouldn't. The tension deepened with every passing second. Was this confrontation about pride, respect, or something far greater than anyone in that restaurant could imagine? The questions piled up, unanswered, as the air thickened with suspense. Everyone could sense that the real story was only just beginning. The billionaire's. Silence grew heavier as he stood just steps away from her. The room seemed to shrink, every sound swallowed by the weight of the moment. His eyes, sharp and unblinking, searched hers as though demanding answers without a single word spoken. The woman held her ground, though her pulse raced. She could feel the pressure of his power pressing against her resolve, but she refused to step back. For the first time, someone had not bowed, not flinched, not surrendered to his presence. The tension was so thick that even the waiters froze mid-task, trays balanced in trembling hands. Guests exchanged nervous glances, caught between fear and curiosity. Nobody dared to interrupt, yet everyone felt trapped inside the unfolding scene. It was no longer just a restaurant, it was a stage. And they were witnesses to a moment that seemed destined to change everything. Finally, his voice broke the silence, low and controlled, carrying the weight of authority. He asked her something in Arabic, his tone cutting like a blade. The words were simple, but the meaning behind them was loaded with challenge. The woman's response came instantly, fluent and fearless, her voice steady even as her heart thundered in her chest. Her answer was not only in his language, but spoken with a depth that carried history, respect, and something personal enough to make his expression shift ever so slightly. The guards tensed, ready for an order they might not understand. The staff held their breath. Every eye in the room darted between the two. Sensing the invisible storm building between them, he leaned closer, his voice dropping even lower, and the woman replied once again without hesitation. The clash of words was quiet but electric, like sparks igniting in the air. Each exchange pulled the room deeper into suspense, building toward a moment no one could predict. And just as the tension reached its breaking point, the billionaire took a sudden step closer, bringing everyone to the edge of their seats, desperate to know what he would do next. The billionaire's sudden step forward sent a shiver through the room. His guards stiffened, ready to shield him, but he raised his hand to stop them. His attention remained locked on the woman, as though no one else existed. Then, in a voice quieter but sharper than before, he spoke a name. It wasn't hers, or at least, not the name anyone else knew her by. The moment the word left his lips, the woman's composure flickered, just for an instant. Enough for him to see that he had struck a nerve. The crowd exchanged puzzled glances. How could he know her? Until that moment, everyone had believed she was a stranger who had simply surprised him with her fluent Arabic. But the billionaire's eyes told a different story. This wasn't chance. There was history, here, hidden, buried, and suddenly pulled into the light. Her hands tightened at her sides, but she did not back away. Instead, she answered him in the same calm tone, though her voice carried a weight it hadn't before. The name he spoke was not forgotten, it was part of a past she had tried to leave behind. And now, with the billionaire standing before her, that past had returned. The guests leaned forward, caught between awe and confusion. The staff whispered frantically, trying to piece together fragments of a puzzle that none of them had the answers to. The tension, already unbearable, now climbed to a breaking point. This was no longer just about respect or pride, was about secrets that connected them in ways no one had imagined. The billionaire's anger had cooled into something more dangerous: determination. The woman, though shaken, stood firm, her fluent words keeping pace with his sharp questions. The air in the room grew heavy once more, every second dragging them closer to a truth neither seemed ready to reveal. The stakes were no longer about a ruined evening, they were about something much larger, and everyone could feel it closing in. The tension that had gripped the room finally broke when the billionaire stepped even closer. His voice no longer sharp, but heavy with something deeper. He repeated the name again, slower this time, as though daring her to deny it. The woman's steady expression softened, and with a quiet breath, she